Ever heard about the terrifying spots tucked away in upstate New York? Places so hazardous, polluted, or scarred by dark history that even residents steer clear. We're talking mass burial sites, poisonous dumps, deserted islands, and deadly flood traps. I'm running down the full list of 20, so stick around for number 1. It's a real jaw-dropper. Number 20. Low-elevation flood areas in upstate regions. Don't dismiss this just because it's at the bottom. It impacts thousands annually. These vulnerable spots dot the landscape right in the line of fire during big storms. Communities hugging the Mohawk River, Susquehanna, and Hudson get slammed by devastating floods over and over. Many have been reconstructed multiple times, only to drown again. Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee in 2011 obliterated whole towns. Schoharie County alone racked up more than $100 million in destruction from one event. Homes got red-tagged, entire blocks left deserted. Planning a trip or relocation to these flatlands, hit up the FEMA flood maps first. Flooding here isn't an if. It's a __1_number 19. Polluted industrial stretches by the Hudson waterfront. The Hudson evokes romance, beauty, and heritage in spots, sure, but head north into select industrial zones, and the vibe turns grim quick. Years of factory waste poisoned sections of the Hudson River Valley with PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, the toughest, nastiest chemicals out there. General Electric's facilities in Hudson Falls and Fort Edward dumped roughly 1.3 million pounds of them into the river from 1947 to 1977. The EPA slapped a 200-mile chunk on the Superfund list, one of America's biggest cleanups. These forsaken industrial riverfronts, dimly lit, mostly empty, and loaded with health threats. Not your ideal spot for a casual walk. Number 18. Derelict factories and ghost mill towns upstate. Back in the day, upstate New York fueled America's industry. Think Troy, Utica, and Schenectady keeping the country running. When the plants shut down, they left eerie, perilous ruins. Old mills and factories statewide are packed with asbestos, lead-based paint, crumbling beams ready to give way, and lingering chemical messes from old operations. Thrill seekers flock there, but injuries, or fatalities, happen yearly in those decaying hulks. Plus, the ground beneath is often toxic and untreated. Dangers lurk out of sight. Number 17. Flood-ravaged zones in Cobleskill and Schoharie Valley. This slice of upstate boasts stunning hills, farms, and quaint villages. Yet under the charm hides a harsh reality. Floods have ravaged it repeatedly, prompting state buyouts and bulldozing of whole swaths. Post-2011 deluge, New York State snapped up and elevated dozens of at-risk houses in Schoharie County, wiping neighborhoods off existence. Lingering spots still face massive threats: old infrastructure, slow rural rescues, and storms amped up by climate change. Experts say the big one's probably coming. Number 16. Specific neighborhoods in Newburgh, Orange County. Newburgh was a bustling Hudson hub once. Now it often tops lists as New York's sketchiest small city, and sometimes nationally. With around 28,000 folks, its violent crime stats outpace giants tenfold. Deep poverty, joblessness, and long-term neglect bred hotspots too risky, particularly nights. Revitalization's happening, and the riverfront shines in places. But step wrong in the wrong spot, and trouble hits fast. Don't roam blind here. Number 15. Select areas in Rome, Oneida County. Proud of its military past and former Griffiths Air Force Base home, Rome tanked hard after the base shuttered in the 1990s. The blow crushed the economy. Folks left, shops folded, and parts of the city slid into poverty, crime spikes, and rotting infrastructure. Certain once thriving working-class areas in Rome have turned into spots where locals caution visitors to stay on guard. The city is pushing back with real improvements, yet some sections stay dicey. And if you're unfamiliar with the layout, it's simple to end up in a spot you'd rather avoid. Number 14, Utica's toughest neighborhoods. Utica boasts one of the most intricate histories anywhere in upstate New York. It's a place that's opened its arms to refugee groups from all over the globe, picking up the moniker, the town that loves refugees, a truly inspiring trait. But the city also bears heavy wounds from years of factory shutdowns. Some districts here suffer poverty levels topping 30% in certain census areas, among the worst in New York State. Crime poses a serious threat in targeted zones, and infrastructure has crumbled badly in sections of town. Head to the vibrant spots in Utica, and you'll discover amazing eats, rich culture, and tight-knit vibes. Stray into the sketchy parts unaware, though, and things shift dramatically. Number 13, Plattsburgh's polluted ex-Air Force Base. Plattsburgh Air Force Base shut down in 1995, and the mess it left lingers to this day. The site is tainted with PFAS chemicals, per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, known as forever chemicals since they persist in the environment and human bodies. They've been tied to cancers, thyroid problems, and weakened immune systems. Leaking groundwater from the base has impacted nearby areas, with remediation dragging on endlessly. Sections of the old base are still cordoned off and off-limits. Don't treat this as a casual adventure spot. The hazards are hidden, which amps up the creep factor. Number 12, deserted mental hospitals across multiple upstate locations. Upstate New York harbors some of the nation's eeriest shuttered psychiatric facilities. Think Willard Psychiatric Center by Seneca Lake, Harlem Valley Psychiatric Center in Wingdale, Kings Park, and more dotted throughout. These enormous complexes date to the 1800s and early 1900s, once sheltering thousands before modern mental health changes led to their closure. Now you're left with decaying, asbestos-filled structures on the brink of collapse, sprawling over vast lands. Thrill seekers flock here, but injuries pile up yearly, plunging through decayed floors, breathing in poisons, or getting pinned in crumbling ruins. Plus, sneaking in is against the law with strict patrols. The backstory is chilling. The risks, even more so. Number 11, asbestos and polluted zones in Fulton County. This stems from industrial pollution most folks beyond the area overlook, though they ought to know. Leftover asbestos and factory chemicals have created major health threats across parts of the county. Agencies have marked soil and water pollution in key spots, but fixes crawl along unfinished. It's the stealthy peril you can't detect by sight, scent, or flavor. Perhaps the sneakiest hazard of all. Locals have battled for decades to secure funding and focus for toxins harming generations' well-being. Number 10, the forsaken hamlet of Tahawus in Essex County. Number 10 draws us far into the Adirondacks to a spot frozen in time. Tahawus is a spectral village, once buzzing with iron mining and titanium work until it emptied out mid-20th century. Remnants of the blast furnace, homes for workers, and machinery rust away in the wilds of Essex County. Reaching it demands expert off-road skills through rugged Adirondack backcountry. The buildings teeter hazardously, Amenities are nil, cell service vanishes in spots, and aid is miles off if trouble hits. Folks have vanished or gotten hurt here. The wilds follow no one's timeline. Number 9. Schenectady's Stockade and Mont Pleasant areas. Select streets. Schenectady thrived as birthplace of General Electric and American Locomotive, a titan of U.S. manufacturing. These days, it grapples with the ruins of that era's collapse. Parts of the Stockade and Mont Pleasant show some of New York's steepest violent crime stats. Ongoing troubles with shootings, drugs, and hardship plague the area and central blocks. Streets that seem peaceful by daylight flip entirely at night. Schenectady boasts some real highlights, like a refreshed downtown area, a thriving arts community, and dedicated local groups stepping up. Yet the problems in specific neighborhoods are undeniable, well-recorded, and impossible to downplay. Number 8. Troy's roughest areas. Troy, New York, once dubbed the Collar City, was a powerhouse in manufacturing, churning out iron stoves, bells, and those innovative detachable collars that dressed the nation. These days, Troy features sharp divides. Some sections are buzzing with life, a spruced-up downtown, hip craft breweries, an expanding creative scene, but others paint a grim picture. Parts of North Troy grapple with poverty rates over 40%, decaying homes, and crime figures that rank among the state's riskiest city spots. The divide between Troy's comeback zones and its toughest corners couldn't be wider. Step over that invisible boundary unaware, and trouble can hit quick. Number 7. Kingston's Rondout area and historic hotspots. Kingston stands out as one of upstate New York's treasure troves of history, New York's original capital, packed with gorgeous buildings and a lively cultural vibe. Still, its current reality gets messy. Spots near faded industrial zones battle ongoing poverty and crime. Ulster County, home to Kingston, has logged sharp spikes in drug crimes and fatal overdoses lately. The opioid epidemic has slammed upstate New York hard, and Kingston feels the brunt. Seemingly charming neighborhoods often hide deep social woes that turn them hazardous for outsiders who drop their guard. Number 6. Elmira's toughest zones. Nestled in the southern tier, Elmira has tumbled economically for years. A former factory center, it's shed more than half its folks since the high water mark, shrinking from over 45,000 to under 25,000 now. That kind of exodus wreaks havoc. Boarded-up houses, closed shops, falling apart streets, and pockets of intense hardship. Some Elmira blocks log violent crime levels shocking for a town that size. Plus, it's in a valley prone to floods. The Chemung River has swamped it repeatedly, worst in 1972 with Hurricane Agnes, when waters surged 17 feet over flood stage, unleashing damage from which Elmira arguably never bounced back fully. Number 5. Buffalo's East Side. This spot screams urban decay across New York State. Decades of redlining, white exodus, factory shutdowns, and chronic neglect have hammered Buffalo's East Side. The fallout? Extreme poverty, forsaken buildings, empty parcels, and spiking violence. Certain stretches see poverty topping 50%, with whole streets ravaged by abandonment and teardowns. Core services have eroded, and brutality in key pockets rivals the region's worst. The May 2022 Tops Supermarket massacre, aimed at Buffalo's black residents, dragged a long-suffering area's agony into the spotlight. The suffering runs deep. The threats are tangible. The backstory demands respect. Number 4. Niagara Falls, New York, past the tourist traps. This one catches folks off guard. Niagara Falls draws crowds as a global marvel, pulling in millions yearly, but slip away from the visitor bubble on the U.S. side, and reality shifts. Niagara Falls, New York, has wrestled for years with steep poverty, brutal crime, shrinking numbers, and mass desertion. Population plunged from over 100,000 to below 45,000, scattering derelict houses, barren lots, and ghost town storefronts mere minutes from a top U.S. draw. Add Love Canal, a nightmare toxic dump that sparked a health emergency and birthed the EPA's Superfund effort. The Cascades dazzle. The town whispers warnings. Number 3. Love Canal in Niagara Falls. Sticking with Niagara Falls at number 3, since Love Canal claims its standalone slot. No mere risky block. This ignited America's ugliest eco-catastrophe. Back in the 1940s and 50s, Hooker Chemical dumped 21,000 tons of poison into a disused canal. Later, developers built homes and a school there. Come the 1970s, locals faced chemical burns, gooey sludge in cellars, failed pregnancies, deformed babies, and rampant illnesses. Back in 1978, President Jimmy Carter issued a federal emergency declaration forcing the relocation of over 800 families. To this day, the hazardous waste lingers underground, sealed by containment barriers. Love Canal serves as a stark cautionary tale about favoring corporate gains over community well-being, which is why it continues to unsettle folks across New York. Number 2. Onondaga Lake in Syracuse. If Onondaga Lake is new to you, prepare to be stunned. Positioned right next to Syracuse, this lake spent decades as a corporate waste dump and city sewer discharge point. Firms like Allied Chemical, later acquired by Honeywell, dumped mercury, solvents, and poisonous materials straight into it. Alongside raw municipal wastewater, the pollution grew so bad that swimming was banned there in 1940, followed by a fishing prohibition in 1970. Tests revealed sky-high mercury concentrations in the bottom muck, cementing its status as one of the nation's dirtiest lakes. Remediation efforts have already burned through more than $1 billion, with plenty more work ahead. Bits of progress have occurred, yet contaminated sludge still coats the lakebed. That's the devastating result of years of unregulated dumping, smack in the middle of upstate New York. Number 1, the radium-tainted locations around Glens Falls and Hudson Falls. This tops the list as the deadliest spot overall, yet it's largely unknown. The Hudson Falls Fort Edward Zone in Washington County bears one of the worst pollution inheritances in the Northeast. It gained notoriety when General Electric dumped roughly 1.3 million pounds of PCBs into the Hudson River, forming a poisonous plume that extended about 200 miles downstream. PCBs pose a grave threat since they accumulate in fish, animals, and people. Resisting natural breakdown, they're tied to enduring ecological damage and health risks, affecting numerous towns and generations. The response turned into one of the biggest, priciest Superfund cleanups ever in the U.S., running into billions and spanning decades. Huge dredging operations hauled away millions of cubic yards of tainted sediment. But surveillance persists because the toxins are so pervasive. Its eerie normalcy, a sleepy, unremarkable small-town vibe, hides the horror with a poisonous heritage that might never fully vanish. That's why it claims the top spot for danger, whether it's poisoned waters, abandoned villages, industrial mishaps, or overlooked flood areas. Upstate New York conceals some downright terrifying spots.